Hello, welcome to another episode of CXOTalk. This is episode number 32. I'm Michael Krigsman, and I'm here, as always, with my lovely and delightful host, Mr. Vala Offshore. Vala?
Thank you very much. Good seeing you.
And we have a very interesting guest today, Marc Touitou, who is the CIO of the wonderful city of San Francisco. Marc, how are you?
Pleasure to be here. I'm fantastic. I'm in San Francisco. How else could it be?
You know, I'm in Boston. I love San Francisco.
San Francisco is great.
Well, you know, I was in Paris, then Philadelphia, not too far from Boston, and San Francisco. So you know, the benchmark is tough. You know, Paris, San Francisco, Philadelphia.
Well, you have a great city. So, shall we just dive in?
Yeah, please.
Ready?
Please.
Ready to roll?
We have an incredible guest, so let's rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll. Okay, Marc, tell us something about the background of about the city of San Francisco and the role of IT and your personal background, just briefly to set the stage.
All right. So you cut me when I consume enough seconds, but I'm Marc Touitou, born and raised in Paris. Moved to Philadelphia, stayed there 10 years, worked the last 30 years of my life in the private sector, mainly in the super high-tech industry, semiconductors, and I moved to San Francisco July last year, and I fell in love with San Francisco and decided that I could probably leverage my experience in the private sector and try to do some good in San Francisco. That was my setting the stage thing.
So, I mean, many would argue that San Francisco is one of the most technologically advanced cities, not just in the U.S. but in the world. How does that pressure impact IT and the role of the CIO and your organization?
It sounds like an easy one. But since we've established that you're the evil one, Vala.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
It's a loaded question. What makes it true is not necessarily the things, you know, on the technology. It's for me, it's more the brains, the culture, the spirit of people here. That's why when you think of San Francisco, you think of, you know, Cisco, Oracle, Square, Twitter, Salesforce.com, and many more. It's the bed and the coalition of brains that create the innovation. After that, the technology innovation, you can debate, you know, which one is the most advanced in the world. But I think that we strive to lead with the ideas and the execution that go with it, and that's the tough part, by the way.
So you talk about innovation and the innovation in the surrounding culture and environment of San Francisco, and so obviously then that somehow bleeds through in what you're trying to do with IT within the city.
Yes, in fact, if you see the, you know, one of the things that really was refreshing for me when I arrived was you get an idea in San Francisco, you pitch it, and then immediately you've got, instead of yeah, but, or ooh, you have people like, oh yes, and we could also do this, and then you have people like immediately, you know, there's a magnet, which is the idea, and then you've got like a flurry of people around that starts building onto it to make it, you know, come to fruition. So that's the spirit we try to preserve and enhance in the city.
Is it fair to assume that's easier for you to hire talent into your organization, given the fact you're surrounded by some of the best and brightest, or is there pressure there, always trying to recruit some of your best and brightest in the startup community or the established organizations around San Francisco?
Well, let's give it a shot. We have a social media guru position in San Francisco here, Vala, and I think that it would be great to have you.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And we are San Francisco.
Wow, this is a first, Michael.
So a job offer,
a
bona fide job offer to be a social media
guru. But to answer your question more precisely, no, it is a challenge because everybody wants to be in San Francisco because San Francisco is cool and everything's possible. And but in fact, you are competing with the nastiest of all, the cool companies that decided to have their headquarters in San Francisco. So it's I would say working for San Francisco is a little bit like some of those magic professions like being a nurse, or it's not, you don't do that because it's going to be, that's what you decide to do because you want to do good there. But make no mistake, we're currently hiring. The City of San Francisco, the Department of Technology, is hiring at least 40 people right now.
Wow.
And we would love to attract more talent and attract it fast. But I'd be lying to say that the competition is not fierce. It is, because the same talent that would want to work with us, have the opportunity to work with the Twitter just across my office, or Salesforce.com, or other even startup companies. So it's tough. It's tough, but we have competitive advantages that we try to leverage.
So you're an incredibly social CIO, not just in government, state, local, but across all industries. From what I can see as I actively participate in social, you have 40 open positions. I'm wondering, do you use, and I think I know the answer, do you leverage social media to recruit the top talent for your team?
Well, I'll tell you, we're extremely structural on the social media approach. I will love to tell you more about that.
Sure.
We are now trying to cross-fertilize other agencies within the city to fully leverage the power of social media channels to get more, to get faster recruit. And we're not completely there, but we're making strong progress. And yes, we use all the channels that we can, but we're not satisfied, and neither should we, because the day we're satisfied is like, okay, we start being complacent, and we don't want to do that. We want more, and we want better. So we'll keep accelerating in that direction. But yes, we're going to leverage the LinkedIn, the Facebook, Twitter, and other channels to see how we can convince more talent to join fast.
Marc, I'm having very strange sensations at the moment, hearing somebody from government IT using words like speed, innovation, not being complacent.
I love that.
Right.
I love that.
This is very unusual.
But you should expect that from a leader in San Francisco.
I think I'm accustomed to not expecting it from government at all. And
you guys are bad. So you're saying that you were expected, I should say, we're slow and ineffective and dumb?
No, not quite like that.
No, actually, we had Casey Coleman,
yes,
a phenomenal CIO of GSA.
Yes, CIO of GSA.
And she and yourself are very like-minded. But again, speed, collaboration, innovation, attracting talent, using unconventional methods of recruiting. That you're in the 1%. I mean, I
let's call that the if you in my previous assignment, the last 10 years in semicon, my motto, which sometimes you get a motto because it's cool, and then you get another one. Mine was the same, and it's still the same now. It's simplify, accelerate. That's it. So if you can do just that, well, I'm not saying you're done, but you've done a lot already. Simplify, accelerate, whether it's business processes or whether it's to unlock the things that are locked, glued to the floor. This is what change agents are supposed to do. This is what you bring.
So you see yourself as a change agent. Is that how you see your role?
I'm not sure if this is what defines me, but absolutely, it's part of the mission.
Go ahead. How do you, I have to assume that you're introducing, when you talk about innovation and talk about speed, that introduces a shift from the traditional culture, both in IT. I mean, I love CIOs, and we talk with CIOs all the time, but in general, IT is not seen as a bastion of speed by many people, and I know I'm going to get bows and arrows for saying that, let alone in the government.
No, you're right. No, you're right, and this is, well, you put the finger on the painful point. It is not speed is an issue, has been an issue, is an issue, and probably will be an issue, but we have to strive to it is not an option to say, well, it is what it is and it's going to be like that forever. No, you have to bring the value, and IT is an enabler. It has been an enabler in business in the private sector forever, and some CIOs in the private sector were not able to do that, and some others were more successful, but it's the exact same thing in government. Mm-hmm. The business processes, we all have to have the business processes with efficiency and cost effective. So we are doing very exciting things. So part of the change management is to spread the word, be a great marketing person. Every CIO is a chief marketing, the chief sales guy. Mm-hmm. So we're doing so cool things in San Francisco. Then you might be the chief enthusiasm officer, because that's what works. People say like, oh, we can? Of course we can. Not only we can, but we are doing it. And then when you say, and we've done it, then people say, let's do it again. And then you ignite some kind of energy that people want to have. I mean, you go to work, you want to do cool things. Right. So it's that's the easy part, to get them, enthused. After that, you need to put the means in front of your people to help them, execute the things that make them happy.
Right. So I would imagine that unlike the private sector, unless you're speaking about a large enterprise, that there's an element of decentralization in a city where you have different stakeholders, different skill set, different cultures and end state in mind. How, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is there an element of decentralization that would challenge a CIO that would in your role versus one in the private sector?
It's the exact same problem. I've worked in both. I've worked in top-down, centralized organization, geographically dispersed. I've worked in a distributed organization. It's the same issue. You've got divisional CIOs, you've got the the shadow IT, you've got this exists everywhere. So when you are in a company that has 12 different business units, every business unit is different. Well, guess what? I work for San Francisco. We have a chairman of the board and then 50 CEOs, and the CEO of SFPD doesn't have the same needs as the CEO of a Muni or the airport or the museum. Every agency has specific needs that should be taken care of specifically, but we also have commonalities. We have things to shared assets that we should leverage, because email is email whether you are in a Muni or SFO.
Right. So is this? Do you have a steering committee that tries to harmonize the different needs of the various stakeholders that you have to serve? How do you prioritize your initiatives when you have so many different organizations that are looking for you to advance them into this digital world that we live in?
And Michael, I thought we had agreed that he would not put like 7 questions in one sentence, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, and you know, the great thing about this is not everybody in the audience realizes that the primary reason behind CXOTalk, which Mark does appreciate, by the way, is to find ways of taunting Vala. I mean, why would we be doing this otherwise?
One question at a time, sorry.
So, can you repeat the question, Vala?
Yeah, Vala,
just prioritizing your roadmap.
No, first of all, your question about governance, yeah, we do have COIT, the Committee for IT, and made of 5 permanent members and representation from all the critical agencies of the city, and we strive to identify the common assets, common processes. It is difficult, as you know. It's not specific to San Francisco. It's always difficult.
Right.
So we have different governance entities, and the one that we're trying to leverage first is the Committee for IT that meets once a month. But depending on the topic, we try to snap the relevant players and put them together, whether it's on architecture.
Right.
Or project office, things like that. So it is complicated, and the key to prioritize is to, I don't want to bore anyone with the ISO layers or things like that, but fixing the fundamentals is what's important. So bringing the city together on the most critical infrastructure. That's I think is the right path.
How do you actually go about doing that? I mean, you started to talk a little bit about it, but with such a diverse constituency, it seems like it would be very difficult to actually get anything accomplished, let alone do it quickly, like you're trying to do.
I think this is what motivates IT and Mark to be social and collaborative. You almost have to demonstrate constant level of interest to be able to juggle all the various. I don't want to answer for you, but
right. But how do you do it in the face of stakeholders who are, attached to existing ways of doing things, and that becomes resistance or a drag or an obstacle to innovation?
Resistance, yeah. Well, everybody encounters resistance within his or her own shop or across departments. That is also normal. When you talk about change agent, change of tone, change of approach, I can tell you that there are even the power of words. When I go visit my peers, the other agency directors, and I said, hey, I consider all of you as CEO of your own business unit, you're my customer. It's like, customer? It seems to be, yes. Some people say, no, they're not your customers. They're like, yes, they are. And then you need to treat people like customers, understand their business goals. What is it trying to achieve? Why? And can you help? SFO, SFPD, MTA, all of them. And they all have different needs with different priorities. And then that changes the tone a little bit. But and when you encounter resistance, which is classic, I try to appeal to the principles and the greater good, fiscal responsibility, efficient government, the critical needs that we all share, like disaster recovery or business continuity, and you'd be surprised. The people in San Francisco are fantastic people, and even when they are tempted, which is a human, to resist, if you go at it and if you need to be persistent. But I've seen a few key players already in the 5 months that I've been here say like, you know what, Mark, it's a good idea. We haven't done that like that before, but let's give it a shot. And then I'm not saying it's going to be an easy ride, but it's a start. You need to pick up that flag, carry the flag, wear the suit, and then continue giving those words, and that's applicable in the private sector as well.
Right.
So trust.
Trust.
Trust is a key point, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I had just, I believe it was a video, or I had just read you talking about, some key initiatives in 2014. Talked about, new email migration or email system, data center migration. Talked about business continuity and disaster recovery initiatives. But another initiative that was really interesting was providing Wi-Fi wireless access through the city. And I know Michael and I are planning to be at Salesforce.com Dreamforce event, and there are expectations of over 100,000 people attending this technology conference. Can you talk a little bit about the Wi-Fi initiative throughout San Francisco? Because I think, San Francisco will certainly be one of the cities that are going to lead the innovation in this space, and all the other cities will surely follow.
So you
one question.
Long question. Long, but one question.
Michael, we'll have to do a postmortem after that.
Okay. I love it.
So you talked about business continuity, critical goals of San Francisco, address the mail migration, have San Francisco on the same mail platform, clouded, which provides also the not only a modern platform, but also the disaster recovery and business continuity embedded into it because it's a cloud solution. Right. We're talking about sharing our assets, and we have data centers and private clouds at DEM, the Department of Emergency Management, and SFO, our airport, and our data center in San Francisco. And we are increasingly gathering and serving the needs of different agencies in those data centers. We're also mirroring mission-critical applications to the state data center. We'll discuss that more on our partnership with the state. And then on Wi-Fi, you know that we discussed recently we jump-started an initiative to Wi-Fi 31 of our 200 gorgeous parks in the city. Wow. And so that started with with a gift from the private sector, and then the Department of Technology is going to be the general contractor, if you want, or doing this. This is a very important topic because Wi-Fi, people might think, oh yeah, well, that's the new hype thing, or it's a gadget, or a nice to have. It's not. You being you, I assume that you know that, but just in case for our audience, I have to say, for every 10% of broadband penetration, there is 1% of GDP growth attached to it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
So once people realize that, you need to start now so that 10 years from now you can laugh about it and say, hey, you remember when we thought that, Wi-Fi was an option, or that it was no, and it's not only Wi-Fi, it's the infrastructure that goes beyond, that goes with it. One of the key things that the Department of Technology is doing is installing fiber broadband capacity for the city. We do not only monitor, the red boxes, those alarm for public safety. We maintain that copper network, but we deploy fiber. Never fast enough, not enough. We want more, always more. And Mayor Lee is all behind that. He's asked us to accelerate the deployment of fiber in the city, and that is good for economic growth. It is good for startups. It is good for social divide, digital inclusion, and then everybody should want to have connectivity as a right, because people that can't afford to have a cell phone plan to call, they can call family with using free Wi-Fi. They can look for a job. they have access to something that would be difficult. So I think it's a very important and very excited about that topic. So we're going to do good here, and we can. That's one, by the way, that's one of the great source of enthusiasm, not only the Department of Technology, but across the agencies. Everybody say, this is a cool thing to do, we want to be part of that. And remember what I said before, when you can have people say, yeah, I want to be part of something bigger than me to achieve something extraordinary. This is where you get teams that will work around the clock, not ask questions, and just get it done just to say, hey, I was part of that. So
wow,
that's my answer to your single question.
That is unbelievable. I mean, so I'm going to try to dissect that into multiple part response. We're talking about a mobile, a social, a cloud champion who's customer focused and wants to work on a purpose that's bigger than themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like government.
I like his power of synthesis. This is good. You're hired. Okay, come join us.
I know this is a job interview. I haven't forgotten your offer to come to San Fran. So I want. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty remarkable. So, what about cloud? Any thoughts on cloud? And given that you're in San Francisco, we can probably guess the answer, but we have to ask you to say
it. Did you say cloud or did you say fog?
I thought I said actually both, because they're kind of similar, or maybe not.
Well, so I think that if you had asked that question like 5 years ago, I could afford to say, well, I'm not sure about that. It's probably like a Gartner hype or consulting stuff, and I think we're way past that. The cloud strategy is not, do you have a cloud strategy? The real question is, what is it? Because you need to have a cloud strategy. Is not something, and that again is true for any CIO anywhere. So you can have you can say that you want infrastructure as a service, that you want platform as a service, that you want solution as a service, whatever works for you. You can have a private cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud, but no matter what your preference is or your cycle of maturity, you need to do it. San Francisco, my vision for the city is that the smart city must leverage the cloud solutions aggressively, and that is personally, I think that I will be successful, or at least I will try to be successful, and I'll continue with every fiber of energy that I have to convince my colleagues, my peers, and partners that we should, for the greater good of San Francisco, start marching faster toward cloud solutions. Whether it's we already do that with the cloud for the mail. I think with it comes, mobile device management. With it comes the collaboration, which I think should also be clouded. And then when you start tackling whether it's an ERP or a financial suite of some kind, information systems, the big players are not ready for that. The big companies that are the traditional ones, the top three, I won't name names, but you know who I'm talking. They're currently still advocating more on-prem solutions, but I think it's changing rapidly, and within a few years you will have clouded solutions. That is the same when you talk about people that have switchboards, and you talk about voice over IP. In my opinion, 10 years from now, you will not have any switchboard anywhere other than in the cloud. You will have clouded solutions for voice over IP, saving money, being fully redundant, and that's the way it should be.
Wow. We have a number of questions, Marc, that have come in from Twitter. So let me toss a few of these out to you, and you can respond to whichever ones you want. How about, here's an interesting one. How is San Francisco preparing and positioning for the API economy? How's that?
The API economy.
Yes.
You're talking the interface?
Yes.
You could go so anywhere on this. I know what he or she means, but it's really big.
Yeah, I'm glad you know what he or she means, because I'm not sure I do.
Well, let's assume that I do. I'm not sure. For me, API is the universal interface that you use when you want to connect things. Right. So when you talk to consultants, they go, yeah, the Internet of Things. What is that?
Yes.
These are before it was human beings talking to the net. Well, pretty soon we'll be a minority, us poor human things, because the things will be sending more data to the net than we are. Maybe it's the case already, I'm not sure. So API becomes a very interesting problem, especially in the smart city, where things need to talk to the net for a reason. Right. Whether it's to convey the information about the light, in streets, or whether it's about the traffic in how many parking spots are available over there, or the sensors and the information that you give. Now, how do you put that available public information? Now we're going to go OpenGov, or how do you make this kind of data available so that companies can decide to create an app for this, or create a business around it, or, well, it's happening, it will continue to happen, and the need to standardize, that's always the key question when something new happens. You remember Betamax and VHS?
Right.
Same old. Right. So you need to have API. For me is a standard that enables a more fluid circulation of information. And I don't have the answer. I just know that it's an important topic.
Yeah, no.
I think most of the companies that you partner with will have their own strategies, and as long as it's an open network principle, you'll have those integration points that you need. I suspect that the technology partners will help define that strategy based on their vision of integration. We have another question from Arsalan Khan, and he asks, do you have a chief enterprise architect, and if so, where does he or she sit in the organization?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
I do have my beloved, trusted chief architect, my CTO. His name is Flavio Aggio. He joined a few months ago, and he reports directly to me, and he's usually the first person I talk to when I want to know, okay, is that ready, or how do you for me, the architecture answers the fundamental questions. With what do I do what, when? So with what do I do mail, and when? Okay, so the standard could be, nodes, O365, on-prem exchange, group-wise, whatever. So you need to have a current situation, declared standard, and convergence point. So you've got a matrix, and so your chief architect would say, okay, Mark, you do mail with that technology, that product, now, and the project should be to converge to the standard. And the next standard apparently being worked is this, that's emerging technology, but don't worry about it for now. Okay. Then you go collaboration, telephony, however you define your architecture, you have different frameworks, whether you use TOGAF or something else, architecture does matter a lot. You cannot have a viable infrastructure without architecture being okay.
Let's go back, shift away from the questions from Twitter. We could go on for an hour, and thank you everybody for sending questions, and keep doing it using the hashtag CXOTalk.
Yeah, Vala, including you. Stop tweeting. We know it's you.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. This is
You caught me.
Mark, if you'd like to be a guest every week, we have a spot.
Mark could be a co-host.
Yeah,
brilliant.
So let's talk about something that is either a great benefit and boon to organizations or is a plague upon the earth, depending on who you talk about with, which is shadow IT. Departments bypassing the formal IT channels. To what extent is there shadow IT within the city, and what are your thoughts about that?
I don't think we have shadow IT in San Francisco.
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
What?
Really?
No?
No, in fact, we have better than
I was going to say,
I wasn't expecting that one.
that's like saying we don't have clean water. I didn't imagine that.
You know, well, don't even go there. We have the best water in the world, you know that.
I know.
But you know, that's HHE direct.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm not sure we need to have shadow IT because we have an IT department in every agency of San Francisco. So I wouldn't call that shadow IT. It is IT. Now, whether or not we do have IT on top of that, quite frankly, I've been here only 5 months. I didn't get to it yet. So I think that the challenge is much less shadow IT and much more bringing IT together on what we should be together on. Because if you are the director of IT for, say, the museum, and well, you've got your specific needs, and if you don't need me, you don't need me. However, if I should be partnering with you on something in common, well, then that's what should happen, and that's the challenge at hand. And some agencies in San Francisco are more lucky than others. They have more resource or more IT people, or so. Yeah, I'm still working on that to discover what we have. We have a very rich community of talent, and all I know is that, you know, the team is usually stronger than the sum of individuals. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Less about who reports to whom, and more about, you know, what are the individual contributors we can put together in the team. So I did not get a problem with shadow IT for now. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll come.
So it's an interesting point. So from your perspective, shadow IT, in a sense, is one aspect of, or can be, of collaboration and cooperation between IT and the various stakeholders and people in the departments and businesses.
Yeah, for me, shadow IT would be, hey, look, we've decided that we would have clouded mail as quickly as we can, and then a department would say, I'm going to buy another mail solution somewhere else. That would be not logical for me. That would be counterproductive. That would be my shadow IT, which in the private sector would be somebody who's not even IT doing some IT work. You know, I don't think that's my number one problem. Is not shadow IT. My number one challenge and opportunity is to convince my colleagues that together we're stronger than individually. That's it.
So given your collaborative nature and how you know, it appears that you have a social organization, do you welcome organizations that may be doing things outside your purview to deliver IT services? Is there a way to gamify and actually celebrate folks that may be doing leading edge work outside of, again, the control of IT, to potentially learn from them? Is that something that you practice or you would promote?
Well, so I'll answer your last question then first.
Sure.
Or the one before that. Is there a way to gamify the? Yes, I think there is. When it's not like, hey, we're the Department of Technology, so when we say it, it's cool, and when you say it, it's not cool. That doesn't work. So when there is something cool and smart that was born somewhere else, you know, we try to embrace it and promote it. And then, of course, there's a friendly competition on, you know, who's got cool idea that can be promoted. But I can tell you that there are There are agencies that started before my department on trying to go in the right direction on asset management, and we're trying to build around that. Somebody else is going to work on you know, a particular web application to manage licenses and permits, and we're going to try to leverage that. We are pretty advanced on social media in San Francisco, and in fact, the Ron Vincent, my chief media, is the guy who had, you know, grabbed that bull by the horn, and then he managed to get on the back, and then he's still on it now. I'm amazed, but he has been lobbying, educating, you know, and then onboarding the different agencies on what is social media, what can it do for you, what should you do about it, what are the organizational impacts of it. And yes, he did find 2 or 3 different standards in the city. Rather than saying, boo, bad, we don't do that. We say, look, it's pretty awesome that you're sensitive on topic already, but look, have you considered this? And then we're doing that. And by the way, we have a corporate license, so it won't cost anything to you. We own it. And people are like, oh, wow, this is cool, and they want more. So now his problem pretty soon is going to be, okay, he's got bandwidth, and then he'll come to me probably for more money, right, Ron? So, but that's a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have.
Good. You know, it's very much like what Kim Stevenson, we talked to Kim Stevenson, who's the CIO at Intel.
A small company, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a small company, yeah, only 7,000 people in her IT department. And she very much, I wouldn't say embraces shadow IT, but she wants to learn from shadow IT. She wants to determine if there's a way to harmonize with a different.
You know, there are 2 ways to look at it. It's either you have something is born from, let's call that shadow IT for now, because you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what you said.
So it could be a wake-up call, or it could be, hey, brag about it, trigger me, and let's see if we can work together on making it even better.
That's
right?
Exactly.
So don't try to kill it. Try to understand how it fits in your architecture. Going back to the enterprise architecture landscape. If you don't have one, then you know it's like chaos, right? So there's a difference between innovation, that rebel innovation, which is good.
Right.
There's a difference between that and an established destination where you are doing the right thing, and it is counterproductive to deviate. That's more of a problem. But usually, when it's innovation, of course you should embrace it. This is when you know, people will get frustrated if you don't.
Yeah, but you know, it's one thing to talk about that in kind of abstract, and the way you describe it, the way Kim describes it, is the need to recognize, is there a gap, and shadow IT is therefore filling that gap. But I think many CIOs find this a very difficult and challenging topic, and they feel threatened by shadow IT. So any advice for CIOs who have that attitude where it's difficult to innovate, it's difficult to embrace, and any thoughts? What can CIOs in that position do?
Yeah, it's a very classic question, which is always relevant, by the way. And
thank you, by the way. I appreciate your saying my questions are relevant.
Yeah, I was about to add, you know, unlike, you know, Fala's question, but okay.
Thank you for that.
I think one of you asked me about my chief architect, and I'll tell you, the number one smart thing you can do to tackle, and I'm not even comfortable calling that shadow IT, but to tackle things that pop that you did not expect, is to have the architecture vision, is to have an enterprise architecture landscape, so that you can say, oh, but that actually, you know, on our landscape, it's, you know, you can be green, you know, orange, red. Well, here we're not either green or orange, red. We're blank. We don't know. We don't know what that is. We don't know what it does. But we know it fits somewhere around here. So if you don't have an architecture framework, get one. We're busy doing that now because, you know, that's how you understand the role of what is that technology? Is it a new technology? Is it an existing technology that created something? And where does it play? And what should it interact with? For example, if you take social media, you talk to a classic CIO would say, yeah, social media, okay, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, blah. Yeah, but are you doing any listening? What's that? Oh, because my shadow IT is doing some stuff like that. Well, you should get on it, because it shouldn't be only your shadow IT doing this. You should be listening, and you should have an engine to do that, and it fits in here. Oh, okay. 10 years ago on your architecture roadmap, you had collaboration. You didn't have social media. Well, now you do. And it's not a bubble. It's a real thing. It's here to stay. So what are you going to do about it? So it influences your strategy. I mean, it's going to help you defend your brand. It's going to help you secure customers. It's going to help you understand your citizens, whatever. But it could very well popped in shadow IT, and you should be grateful that it did pop.
I love that attitude. We're just about out of time, but we have to talk about startups before we're done.
Yeah.
So you live in the land of startups, and my apologies to Boston, where I live. San Francisco is the land of startups these days. Sorry about that, guys.
We're number 2. We're close.
Let's claim number 2.
We'll claim number 2.
We're going to claim number 2. Not only that, we're going to claim a top number 2, which makes us number 1.
There goes any chance of us getting the CIO of Boston to join.
Yeah. But having said that, do you work with startups? And if a startup wants to work with the city, what should they do, and what do you look for? How do you filter out who you work for in terms of startups?
Time, priority. If you haven't prioritized your architecture problems, you're going to get pulled in all directions. So I can tell you that yesterday I got engaged by a startup who says, "Hey, we have something on social media that you might be interested in, because you're familiar with Sunshine?"
Sunshine, the product? No.
No, not the product.
Sunshine.
Sunshine. No, not the weather either. The Sunshine in California is like every citizen is entitled to have information about something that we're doing, and there's a product that allows to address that problem on social media platform. And that's a product created by a startup, and so my staff is looking at, well, is that a strong player? Does it answer the question properly? So to answer your question, yes, we like to discuss this problem with startup. Another startup asked us on identity management. They want to replace, what's my badge? Replace, the classic badge by that should be your badge.
Wow.
Wherever you don't need a visual badge, like at the airport, I should be able to have all my entrants with this. That's a startup, and we're looking at whether or not we can leverage that. That's innovation. That's startup, obviously, and then it actually fills a need that we have now, given all the buildings that we have. And if any chief security officer will tell you, "Oh yeah, I wish I had that." But we are helping startups by extracting information from the the mass of data available to us, and when we put this data available out there, then startups say, "Hey, we can leverage that. Are you committed to that data?" Yes, we are. Then they know they can have a viable app system, or they might say, "Hey, look, there's a gap. We need that kind of data, and if you could put this data out, then we'd like to do something around this, like we did, for example, for the next bus or parking, or and this is a new idea every week, right? So we're the Muni information system. So we try to stimulate that, encourage that, and we're now in the process of hiring a chief data officer that should help bring even more focus on what kind of information are we looking for, and how do we put it out. And yes, there is the API issue. So we're intrigued and encouraged by what we have seen so far.
Fantastic.
Well, this has been a phenomenal conversation.
Unbelievable.
I just tweeted that my summary of today's show, it's about innovation.
Really is.
Right? Innovation.
Really is. Unbelievable. Innovation, integration, imagination, intelligence, all the I's you can think of. And I hope the viewers know that the CIO of City of San Francisco and his team are looking to hire 40 technologists to help, improve the user experience of all the citizens of San Francisco, and that's
to begin with. And I tell you that I hope you realize that when I say that, whether it's on the deploying more fiber or hiring people, it starts by having a great mayor who understands the vision, who's that our mayor is actually the chairman of the innovation task force, and he belongs to the the task force of innovation for the mayor's coalition, and he's got the vision. He cares about the right thing, and it's always refreshing when I meet with him that he's got great sense of humor, and he's pushing me to continue in the right direction. So we'll keep advancing the city like that.
That's
well,
fantastic.
This has been wonderful. Thank you, Marc. We've been talking with Marc Touitou, who is the CIO for the City of San Francisco. And
it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It was really our pleasure.
We look forward to meeting you in person in a few weeks. Thank you, sir.
And, we should get Salesforce.com to have the three of us do a panel that extends this conversation.
I would love that.
You're on.
So Salesforce.com, if you're out there listening, or folks listening, tweet to Salesforce, say, get these guys on a panel together, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
And I promise my questions will get shorter.
Yeah, that. Now
we don't believe you 1 second, but that's okay. We love you anyway.
Right. We have now entered the realm of empty promises.
Yeah.
Well, as always, it is a distinct pleasure. We've been talking again with Marc Touitou, who is the CIO for the City of San Francisco. Marc, it has been wonderful talking with you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.